On a warm day in June 1973, the Jagger family, excited for their trip westward, camps at Headwaters State Park in Montana, where the shade of the trees and the whisper of the wind create a peaceful atmosphere. However, that tranquility is abruptly interrupted when Susy, their 7-year-old daughter, disappears without a trace in the middle of the night. The little girl, who had spent the night with her siblings in their tent, cannot be found, unleashing a frantic search by her parents, relatives, and local authorities. Marietta, Susy's mother, feels growing anguish as she realizes that something terrible has happened. Her maternal instinct screams that her daughter did not disappear on her own. Someone has taken her. The police, initially skeptical about the seriousness of the situation, are soon forced to acknowledge that it is indeed a kidnapping. As the search begins, horrified investigators discover a hole in the tent and clues suggesting the presence of a stranger, intensifying the chaos unfolding in the serene woods. In the midst of the turmoil, local police contact the FBI, which joins the search. As time passes, every hour decreases the chances of Susy being alive. The search becomes one of the largest in Montana's history, with helicopters, boats, and community volunteers clearing paths through the inhospitable terrain, driven by the urgency to find Susy and bring her home safely. Meanwhile, a similar crime that occurred years earlier raises unsettling fears among the authorities. A Boy Scout had been murdered nearby, and the possibility of a returning killer adds an anguishing dimension to Susy's case. Investigators examine criminal records, interrogate suspects, and use advanced technologies like polygraph tests to seek answers, desperately clinging to hope that Susy will be found alive. One man stands out, David Masterson, a local contractor who displays odd behavior, hinting that he may know more than he is saying. However, he manages to evade blame. His responses are appropriate, and all evidence appears not to implicate him, leading to frustration among investigators. Gradually, hopes of finding Susy begin to fade as days turn into weeks. The Jagger family, although devastated, clings to the hope of hearing from their little girl. Amid the despair, authorities continue their search, still fearing the similarity of Susy's tragedy to the case of Sandra Morgan, a young woman who vanished under comparable circumstances. Echoes of these families' losses resonate through the community, spurring both sorrow and a fierce determination to seek justice. 8 months after the tragic event, Sandra's body is found, reigniting interest in Susy's case. As the connection between the two cases begins to emerge, agents start looking at Masterson in a new light. His behavior, again, becomes a motive for suspicion. A complicated game of cat and mouse unfolds as investigators attempt to tie up loose ends and uncover the dark secrets hidden beneath the surface. Marietta refuses to give in to despair. Her unwavering faith and determination are inspiring. She believes her daughter is alive, and Susy's memory becomes palpable in the form of flyers, candlelight vigils, and an unyielding fight against forgetfulness. Through every effort, Marietta honors Susy's name, praying for her return daily. Finally, after years of suffering, David Masterson is arrested. The discovery of human remains and other disturbing clues brings the investigation to a critical point. Under pressure, Masterson begins to confess that he had murdered Susy along with other victims in an unimaginable act of horror. The revelations are heartbreaking, making the pain of the Jagger family deeper. But justice slips away when shortly after his arrest, Masterson takes his own life in prison, leaving questions unanswered and an eternal void for the Jagger family. Thus, Susy's story becomes a symbol of the tireless struggle for truth and hope.